All right, welcome back to Doctrines 3. This is our final video for this week as we continue on our study of angels, church, and end times, specifically here, angelology, the study of angels. I want to ask this question: what is it that angels actually do? What is the ministry of angels? First of all, they have a ministry to God, and we see this in the cherubim and the seraphim and living creatures, or perhaps just simply the cherubim. We see them ministering to God. They have a ministry to God in defending His holiness. Remember, He's not defending His holiness from us, but rather us from Him. Seraphim have a ministry to God in surrounding the throne of God as they attend to His holiness. They also have a ministry to Christ. We see in His incarnation, angels have this important ministry to emphasize His deity. They predict His birth. Gabriel comes to Mary, and he calls him the Son of the Most High. Tells her that he would rule over the throne of his father. Angels protected him in infancy, warning Joseph to flee to Egypt when Herod was going to kill all of the children in Bethlehem. We see them ministering to him after his temptation, but not during his temptation, not before his temptation, but after he was tempted, after he was fasting for those 40 days and then tempted by Satan. Immediately following the temptation in Matthew chapter 4, verse 11, they come and minister to him, perhaps supplying him food and comforting him after that temptation period. Angels strengthen him at Gethsemane when he's praying. Just as Christ had a spiritual battle with Satan in temptation, he also had a spiritual battle concerning the cross. Was he going to go or not? Angels strengthened him as he wrestled in prayer in the anticipation of his crucifixion. We see they announce his resurrection. In fact, all four Gospels see the angels there rolling the stone away, announcing his resurrection to the women, and telling them, "Why are you looking here? He is not dead, but he is alive." Angels attend to his ascension as he ascends into heaven. Angels surround the throne of the Father, so angels attend to the triumphal ascension of God the Son back into his glory to the right hand of God the Father. And of course, they will attend his second coming. We see throughout the Olivet Discourse, Matthew 24 and 25. We also see this in the book of Revelation. Angels' primary ministry, however, we see in Hebrews chapter 1, verse 14, is that they're ministering spirits to believers. The Greek word there, ministering, does not convey an idea of slavery, but an official functioning of the liturgy, that liturgica, which means liturgy, like as in ministering in a sacred sense, ministering in perhaps the service of some holy sacrament of worship. They had been duly commissioned and sent forth with the responsibility of aiding believers. We see these other responsibilities throughout Scripture being carried out by angels to believers. We see them physically protecting believers. We see this in David. He experiences physical protection by the angel when he was forced to flee the Philistines. Angels may frustrate the plans of the enemies of God, and Psalm 35 talks about that. We see angels protecting the physical harm to those who seek refuge in the Lord in Psalm 91. We see Peter being escaping from prison, both in Acts chapter 5 and again in Acts chapter 12, that angels are responsible for that. We see physical provision in 1 Kings chapter 19. Elijah is physically nourished by angels bringing food to him. In Acts chapter 27, Paul himself is ministered to by angels during the storm. They arrived safely in Rome as angels brought them there. We see them giving direction in some cases. In Philip in Acts chapter 8, It's an angel who prompts him to go to speak to the Ethiopian eunuch. In Acts chapter 10, we see an angel arranging the meeting of Cornelius and Peter, the first Gentile to receive Christ. We see that they assist in the answers to prayer. There seems to be a relationship between the prayer for Peter's release from prison in Acts chapter 12 in Mary's house and Peter's being released from prison. Daniel's prayer was explained by an angel. As Daniel prayed, Gabriel came and said, "When you began to pray, I came to you." And again, you can look up all of these passages yourself, just for sake of time in the video here. And then finally, they carry believers home. We see angels taking Lazarus to Abraham's bosom. And you see that stark contrast between Lazarus and the rich man. The rich man dies and he's buried, but Lazarus is carried by the angels to Abraham's side in paradise. This may be the way God causes all of his dying saints to be absent from the body and at home with the Lord. It could be that angels attend to us being whisked away to heaven. What about their relationship to unbelievers? See a lot of unbelievers saying, "Oh, an angel did this for me, an angel did this for me." Throughout Scripture, the only thing that angels do for unbelievers is carry out judgment on them or announce judgment on them. We see angels announcing the coming destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah in Genesis chapter 19. We see in Revelation 14 angels announcing the destruction of the world powers along with those that worship the beast. We see angels in Ezekiel 9 seen judging the people of Jerusalem for their idolatry. We see the angel in Acts chapter 12 striking Herod Agrippa for his blasphemy and his great pride with the sickness and the worms. We see in Matthew 13, angels will also be instrumental in the judgment at the end of the age, and they will be the ones casting the unbelievers into the furnace of fire, into the lake of fire. They will sound the trumpet judgments. They will pour out the bowl judgments. It's the angels that read the scrolls, or that carry the scrolls, that Jesus Christ himself will unseal. And so as we look at angels in relation to unbelievers, they're only there to carry out judgment. But for believers, they're there to be ministering spirits to us. And as 2 Peter says, maybe it is that we are even attending to our entertaining angels even unawares today. But I want to be very careful as I finish up this video that we understand that just because an angel did something in Scripture does not mean that they will necessarily do it for you or I today. And in our understanding of angels, as we saw last week, that angels are the host of heaven, that God is the Lord of hosts. And you have a particular relationship with God as a child of God who can boldly approach the throne of grace. We are not to command angels. We are not even to be concerned with what angels are doing or where they are going. Notice when we say entertaining angels unawares, the emphasis on that is completely unaware. We're not to know or not to care even where angels are going or what they're doing. That is their own business. Instead, we are to be concerned with our relationship with God. We're to worship only God. And when we need God to do something for us, whether he decides to use an angel to do it or to simply carry it out himself, or even use us to do it or another believer to do it that he prompts, who are we to ask God? Who are we to question his motives and his methods in carrying out the answers to our prayers? And so in conclusion with that, we need to understand that we are not to attempt to communicate with angels. We are not even to speculate about angels. That is really a distraction from where we need to be as believers. Instead, we need to be praying to God alone and seek his help in our times of need. That's all we have for angels. Next week we get into Satanology, and then we'll conclude in the following week with demonology.